You're listening to episode 4 of D6 Pack, recorded on March 17th, 2017. Welcome to D6 Pack, the premier podcast about beer, board games, and surrounding culture. On this episode, we will expose our taste buds to Arcadia Brewing Company's Puerto Rico, discuss what's crackin', and reveal our top 6 superhero franchises of all time. I'm Travis Keatley, and here are my co-hosts.
I'm David Westfall.
And I'm Todd Marsh.
Let's dive into our new brew for this month's episode.
Alright, so on today's episode, I just wanted to start out by saying I know we mentioned that we were going to be reviewing Atwater's Traverse City Cherry Wheat. However, there was a mix-up and we don't all have that beer with us today. So we are going to be reviewing Arcadia Ale's Puerto Rico instead. And I will jump into Arcadia's description. Take a trip to the lost island of Puerto Rico, where the cacao and coconut live in harmony and frolic the sandy shores. Our island getaway takes the form of a dark, chocolatey beer with the balancing sweetness, medium body, and lingering mouthfeel. Intense toasted coconut rides the trade winds for a truly exotic, yet comfortingly familiar pint.
Okay, so before we move on, I have to say, I noticed Todd, I think you were taken to another world over there, man.
I know.
You had your eyes shut. And...
I close my eyes, and when I hear that voice, it's just, oh my gosh, I'm just like, I'm there. I felt like 20 degrees warmer. I heard,
Awesome.
I heard crashing waves.
Seagulls.
Let this beer take you to the beach.
Let this beer take you there.
I also wanted to say that this beer has a 5.5% alcohol by volume.
Damn.
And it's 19 IBUs.
Sweet.
So, let's go ahead and crack them.
Let's. That smells.
Definitely coconut
Yeah,
right
I can
off
smell
the bat.
coconut.
It smells like the beach.
It smells like the beach.
It's very dark.
Oh, it's darker than I thought it was going to be, yeah. What's a porter?
Unfortunately, I think it's Daytona Beach, not...
Daytona Beach.
I love that smell.
Very frothy.
Sit it out and use it as an air freshener, Dave.
I could.
I always goof, and I never pour on an angle. No, I got...
It's not as heavy as I thought it'd be.
Not as heavy? Well, let's see.
For a porter, it's actually surprisingly light.
It's definitely dark. I mean, I'm holding it up to the light, and there is no light getting through that.
Wow. It has some strong flavors, though.
It does.
That gets you right away.
Wow.
So we'll keep sipping on that, and we'll come back and review it at the end of the episode.
Now it's time to find out what's crackin' in our D6 pack update.
Okay, this week we're going to see what's cracking with everybody. David, you want to start us off?
Sure. So I'm going to start us off with a game that I've played a while ago now. So it's not fresh in my memory, but I think I've played it a couple of times, so I have a pretty good idea. And that is Villages of Valeria. So this is a game that was kickstarted, I believe. It's published by Daily Magic Games, and it's sort of in the same line as Valeria Card Kingdom, which is very similar to Machikoro. I think I've mentioned it previously on the show. But Villages of Valeria is a very different game. It uses the same resources, so you're using magic and gold and stone and all that stuff still, but you're using it in a different way. So you're building up your castle kind of Seven Wonders style. So all the cards have different sides to them. They can either be a building or they can be a resource that you can add onto your castle. So if you add them onto resources onto your castle, then you can use those to build other buildings on future turns. And once you have certain sets of buildings, you can recruit different types of people to your kingdom, I guess. And those give you different scoring opportunities at the end of the game. And once you get, I think it's, well, it depends on the player count, but I think it's for a more than 2-player game, it's like 10 buildings, then that ends the game. And you just total up your points at that point and see who wins. So there's a lot of ways to score in this game for such a tiny little box. This is like maybe 8 by 5, the box is.
Okay.
So it's not a very big game, but it's got a lot in it, and I had fun with it.
So, I'm just going to jump in here. I don't know if either one of you are looking at the actual box to the game, but it kind of reminds me of, what's that game where you can place the NFC-equipped little dragons and stuff on it, and it comes to life? It's like a video game. The font on the board kind of reminds me. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what it's called either.
It's along the same theme, yeah. I don't know. Todd, is that ringing a bell for you?
Not right away. No.
I think it's like it's a kid's game, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's based on a cartoon.
Well, I think you can get pieces from like different Disney movies and things too.
Oh,
I'll have to look it up and maybe revisit.
It's like a video game where you like put the toys on the.
Yeah.
There's a couple different things like that. I know like one of the popular ones is like the Spyro. Skylanders.
Yeah, Skylanders. That's what it's called. Yeah. So when I'm looking at the cover, I mean, this is I digress. This has nothing to do with the game, but I kind of get that Skylanders feel just from the cover art.
Kind of like that light family feel.
Yeah. And the dragon and stuff, and the font.
I mean, since you brought it up, the artwork in this game is amazing.
Is it?
I mean, you're looking at the cover, but the cards throughout it all have very similar artwork, and it's very attractive looking.
Yeah, I'm just gonna peek now real quick. Definitely.
How many players
cool
is it?
Castles and.
I'm not sure.
How many what?
Players does it play?
Players.
I think
yes.
it's 2 to 5.
2 to 5, okay.
1 to 5.
1 to 5.
Wonderful.
Wow.
That's crazy. A 1-player game. That's.
I think I've played at 3 players and 4 players, and it was good at both counts. So.
Oh, cool. And like you said, it being a Kickstarter game and it having good art, that's really good. Because with Kickstarter games, when you're looking at like the Kickstarter page, things can really make things look better than what the
final product.
Yeah, than what it will actually be in the final product. So that's good that even though it being a Kickstarter, it has really good art and. So that's good.
Daily Magic has this. They're going for like a set. I mean, like I said, this is their second game now.
Right.
Valeria it used very similar artwork, and that's probably what drew a lot of people into it.
Right.
That and the fact that it's like a better version of Machikoro, but they used very similar artwork in both games, and I think the success of that first game has driven this one as well. And this one's also done well, so I think at this point they can't really go wrong.
So the gameplay in this, Dave, you said is like Machikoro.
Not this one. Their previous game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This one isn't really like anything specific that I can think of.
Okay.
It uses mechanics that are similar. Like I said, the 7 Wonders, building up your resources to buy future things.
Right.
But I can't think. I've heard other comparisons, but I can't remember them.
Now. I haven't played either of the games, so I can't really jump in and.
Yeah.
I don't have them, but if you do ever get a chance to check them out, I would advise.
Yeah.
Do that.
From what you're saying, I definitely something I want to give a try. It sounds cool because I like a city building game is something. I kind of like that theme and that kind of mechanic, so. I haven't played a bunch of them, so playing another one is always cool.
This one's good too because it's light. Like I said, you played a 10. That happens very quickly.
Right.
So the BGG page says this plays 30 to 60. I think 60's going to be a very long game.
Right.
Like, this is going to be much closer to the 30-minute side.
Definitely. Okay. Cool.
All right.
All right, Trav.
So how about we send
what's
it
going on with you?
On to me?
Yeah, let's do you.
Okay. So for my What's Crackin' for this episode, I kind of want to talk about something that Stonemaier Games makes. There are these custom tokens, a lot of hand-painted and very detailed tokens that you can get, but the particular set that I'm talking about is the Token Trilogy and metal coins. So basically you've got 3 different boxes of tokens, they would call it. The Gadget Guide, the Terror Tome, and the Adventure Atlas. So it gives you a ton of different tokens that you could use in any variety of games. Damage tokens, energy crystal tokens, focus. They look like books. They have axe and double blades. So the price for all 3, you can find them for around $170, and it comes in a really nice presentable box that would look great on anybody's board game collection. But it also includes the metal coins too, which were originally made for scythe and viticulture, but you could probably make them work in other games too. They're just really high quality coins, and we actually got to try the scythe coins tonight with Dave. But they are really, really nice. They look super realistic. I don't know, Todd, if you've had a chance to peek at these, but they really do put a lot of detail and add another dimension to a game that, you might be trying to make it feel more realistic. So they look really, really cool. Yeah. So I'd like to own those one day or add them to my collection.
So Stonemaier does an amazing job with their component production. Travis mentioned the metal coins for Scythe, and that was something that Adrian and I invested in. We also have the metal coins for viticulture, and all these components are amazing. It's a little weird because they're not designed for a specific game, but that could also be a good thing because you can figure out how to implement them yourselves. You could use these hearts, which are like anatomically looking hearts for love letter.
Yeah.
Put a different spin on love letter, but
and they have health packs that look like something you might find, I don't know, if you're in a zombie video game, Call of Duty or something, stuck up on the wall, but they're just really, really detailed and cool. And I agree with Dave, you can figure out ways to apply them to other games that aren't necessarily designed to be used with these tokens.
Right. These are definitely like a super luxury item.
Oh, yeah.
This is, for the true hardcore gamer who just needs to, have the best of the best. But, they're super cool. Definitely the type of thing you can get someone as a gift. If they have, like, a large game collection, you can use these in so many different games and just that little extra. Just makes it upgrade that, the look of the game on the table and, something that you break out in, like, a convention or something, or where there's a bunch of new people, gamers. There's something that can draw them more into the experience. Like, what is going on?
Into the world.
Yeah, what is going on here? Like, just look at these cool pieces and what's going on. It's like that first step.
The problem with me is I'd want to spend half an hour looking at each component, and then I wouldn't even get to the game. That'd be the problem.
Or you wouldn't play like the right way, You're just like, I'm gonna keep all my things.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
get this
these
thing.
look the best.
Like, don't you want to get like points? No, I just want these pieces.
Got a collection over here.
Travis, the point is to spend resources, not collect them.
Not collect them all.
Travis, why do you have that pile of stone?
So beautiful.
I like rock.
I really like rock. Oh, all right. So, Todd, We send it your way.
Mm-hmm.
What's cracking?
All right, so one of my favorite board game mechanics is the drafting mechanic. That was something, I found when I was playing Magic the Gathering. That was like my favorite way to play, drafting a deck and playing that way. So when I came over to board games, it was some of the first games I played were drafting games. And one of the best ones I played is a little game called Sushi Go from Game Right Games. And it's like got really cool art, cartoony sushi pieces, and you just go through and you try to collect sets of the different type of sushi, sashimi, tempura, nigiri, and you just want to get sets of these, and they each score in like different ways and everything. So the original Sushi Go played 2 to 5 players, and they had like 8 different sushi sets, in the game. Well, just recently, just this week, I got the new game, which is called Sushi Go Party. And in this game, it's the same concept, still a drafting game. You still want to collect sets of your sushi, but they upped it to 8 players. So now it plays 2 to 8. And instead of 8 menu items, they now have 22 different menu items. So, but you only use 8 in the game. So you can mix and match which 8 you want to use this game, and it changes up like all the different strategies and what you can do. Because all the cards, they score in different ways, and they have different like abilities and powers that you can get. So it's really cool. A bunch of different stuff. In this game, it actually comes with a game board. It's just a card game, but this one comes with a game board, so everybody can see. It's kind of like the theme. You kind of like pick a menu. So you have your nigiri, and then you pick like a special sushi roll, then you pick some appetizers, then you have like your special cards, and you pick a dessert, and then you play throughout the game, and so it's really cool.
Yeah, Adrian and I have this too. It's a lot of fun. It's true to the original Sushi Go, which I like. But those different cards do add some variety. Have you gotten a chance to play with it yet, Ty?
I haven't played with it yet. I just got it. I ordered it last week. It just came in the other day, so I haven't got a chance to really play it yet. But I mean, I've played Sushi Go a bunch, so and it's basically the same game. It just has different. You can do.
Yeah, it doesn't change it up too much.
No, so I know what to expect, and I'm super excited to try it out.
The one downside to Sushi Go Party, I would say, is that it's a little more work than regular Sushi Go because you have to sort it out after every game.
Right.
And put it back into the box in whatever order you decide to store it in.
Right. But the box, it's a really good box. I mean, they have little slots for each different card type. When I first got it, I cracked it open and I got it all sorted out in like 10 minutes. And so as long
So it
as
helps keep you organized, type of a thing?
Yeah, perfectly organized. Each different set of cards has its own little slot, and so you can just grab out 8 and play it. And
so the other thing about Sushi Go Party is that it comes with a score track.
Yeah.
Which, with regular Sushi Go, you just had to keep track on paper.
Right.
So this one has little bottles of soy sauce that's your game piece, and you move that along the score track to keep track of where you're at.
Yeah, when I got it, when I opened it up, that was the first thing my son went to. He wanted to play with the little pieces, so I got those out for him. And he was stacking them up and knocking them over, and so he had fun with that too. And one of the reasons why I like this game is because this Sushi Go, the first one, was a game I had much luck with playing with family. Like, this was a easy game to teach. Shuffle up some cards and deal, and then you easily can teach the drafting mechanic. Pick a card to keep, and you pass all the other cards to your side. So I've had luck with playing this with my family, with my wife's family, everyone's liked it. So I figured, well, let's get the new set with all the new stuff, and it should be a hit as well.
That's very true. I've found the same thing with my family. And like you said, this one doesn't change the game up that much, so it's just as easy to teach. And you can play more people, so...
Yeah, so it's super cool. And it's a really good price point. I think it was I got it for like $15 on Amazon.
Yeah.
So
it sounds all around like a great improvement on the first one.
yeah, they just...
Would you guys say that there would be any reason to go buy the original Sushi Go over this one?
Well, if Todd said he got it for $15, I think we paid like $20 or $25 for ours. The original game's still cheaper.
Okay.
So if you're just looking for a cheap gift for somebody, then maybe Sushi Go... I mean, I gave somebody the regular Sushi Go for Christmas, but...
Right.
It's a good, like, stocking stuffer type thing, whereas Sushi Go Party is bigger.
It's a little bit...
Okay.
Yeah, it is a little bigger box, but everything in the original game is in the new one. So...
Yes.
It just depends.
You can play the original game with the new one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Very cool.
All right.
So with that, I think we'll move into our top 6.
It's time for our top 6.
So for today's top 6, we're doing our top 6 superhero franchises. So we're going to be talking about what our favorite series of superhero movies are. So this is an interesting list to make because there's so many different superhero movies that it was kind of hard actually to compile them all and determine which was the best and how to rank them.
Right.
For me, I have a little bit... I feel a little bit guilty because I tried to incorporate some of those older superhero movies, but they just didn't make that top 6.
No.
There's been so much graphics and stuff that have come out in these past, 10 years or so,
Yeah.
that it's hard for those old movies to compete, but...
I agree.
There's a few that I might give shout-outs to once we're done.
Yeah. Okay.
If no one else talks about them first. So, with that, I think we'll just jump right into our list. You want to start us off, Travis?
I will. My number 6 is actually higher on somebody else's list. So, Dave, where are you at with your number 6?
So, my number 6 is X-Men.
Oh, boy.
And there's just a lot in this series, which is probably why it's not higher on my list. I always liked X-Men, but there's so many heroes involved in it that it's kind of hard to keep track of them all. But there's always those favorites like Wolverine or Cyclops that you can hold on to and...
Kind of like the face of the franchise in a way.
Yeah, whichever one you relate to, it just brings that franchise to life for you. So,
for sure.
I mean, for me it was Wolverine, but I think for most people it was probably Wolverine.
Right.
That's why he got his own movie.
Couple of them.
But yeah, so that's my number 6.
So actually, the X-Men franchise is also my number 6. This is one of the larger franchise. I mean, I think it's probably the largest franchise at this point.
Yeah,
I think
can't think of any that are...
with Logan releasing right now, I think it's at 9 or 10 films. So that's crazy. With like, following like with...
I'm not sure I've even seen them all. Some of the newer, like, whatever they released after X-Men First Class, I don't think I saw.
I've definitely seen them all. Now, like you said, it being such a big franchise, where there is definitely some high points, there are definitely some low points. So that's why it's kind of balanced out to kind of be like the 6th spot on the list for me. My favorite film of the entire franchise was definitely X-Men: Days of Futures Past. That one to me was like perfect because it brought together the main characters of like the original 3 films, and like the characters of like the newer films, like the First Class, and you know that generation of characters.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So that was definitely my favorite.
I think that's the one I haven't seen.
Yeah, there's that one. The X-Men Apocalypse was the last X-Men, all of them together film that came out last year. It was pretty good. I liked it, but Days of Future Past was my favorite. And Logan, actually, me and Jess are going to go see it tomorrow in theaters. So
Oh, nice.
that's going to be fun.
Yeah. There have definitely been, you know, like Todd said, 8 or 9. There's a lot, and I do remember watching maybe the first 3, but then I just kind of, like, they didn't pique my interest enough to keep it, you know, through 9 films. And so for me, it's been kind of fun to see their characters show up in other movies now that superhero movies are such a huge thing these days. But as one franchise that I just, you know, love to follow, this didn't make my top 6.
And like you just said, with like superhero movies being so popular these days, a lot of people contribute that popularity to the original X-Men. That came out in
I would
2000.
agree.
That was like one of the first movies in this new wave, this next wave of superhero films. You know,
Yeah.
it did really well. People liked it. It was critically did well. So people just started grabbing, you know, franchises and characters and pumping them out. So this is So this people can definitely contribute X-Men to really kickstarting this whole new fad, where now superhero movies are like the top grossing movies of all time. You know, worldwide phenomenon. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, like I said earlier, it's hard to compare those older movies to these newer ones. And like you just said, X-Men is really what kick-started that movement. So I think it's hard for me not to put this one on this list. So, all right, let's move on to number 5. I'll start this one off. And my number 5 is actually higher on someone else's list. So
Already.
let's go to Utah.
Yeah, so actually I'll continue following David's lead. My number 5 is higher on someone else's list as well. Travis, you got something for us?
My number 5 is actually higher on somebody else's list. So
Alright.
I think we will just continue on to 4.
Okay, David.
All right. Why don't you start us off with this one, Todd?
Okay. All right, so this franchise for me is my first. This is the franchise that really drew me into superhero movies and really into like following films and in general. And that's the original Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire. Man, I remember when seeing Spider-Man for the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. He instantly became my favorite superhero. I loved it. I used to, have coloring books of Spider-Man, pretend to be Spider-Man, buy Spider-Man toys, all that. So then...
Yeah, I remember.
And then Spider-Man 2 came out, and it was even better. And it broke all the records at the time, most, highest weekend gross worldwide, opening weekend, second weekend, and it was just huge. And it just where we said that X-Men kind of kick-started the whole superhero phrase, Spider-Man cemented it. By that point, you knew when those came out, you knew these things are going to be powerhouses. Huge budgets, throw as much money as you can at them, and you will get triple, quadruple money back. So, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite of the franchise. Doc Ock was, I think, the best villain in the franchise.
Which one was he from?
Dr. Octopus, he was in the second one.
Second one. Me too.
Yeah.
That was okay.
Yeah, that was arguably, people say that's the best one, and that's my favorite for sure. The third one, I liked the third one. Definitely wasn't my favorite. Had some really weird parts in it with the whole Venom, symbiote thing. Venom, crazy enough, was my favorite character from like Spider-Man, like the comics and the TV show. So I was really excited for that, and it was okay. It was good, but I didn't. The second one to me was just better.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to jump in now because this is also my number 4.
We're syncing up today.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I always liked Spider-Man. Even as like a little kid, Spider-Man was always my favorite superhero cartoon.
Yeah.
So when they released these movies, I was super excited. And like Todd said, the first one was great, and I thought Tobey Maguire did a good job of being Spider-Man.
Right.
They did the origin story well. Mary Jane was a good part of the movie.
Yeah.
And I like you said, the second one made it even better. I do disagree with you a little bit because I actually like the third movie.
No, I like it. I like it. It's just not my favorite.
I think that one is my favorite though.
No, I can see.
I liked the black Spider-Man suit and Venom's whole part of the movie, so I thought that was exciting. I don't know if I liked the ending as much, but
right.
Overall that whole story I thought was very good, and I like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. So.
I mean, the third one did have 3 bad guys in it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah.
Spider-Man was actually my number 6.
Okay.
And I agree. The origin story was, explained really well. Tobey Maguire was, for me, the reason why this movie made it into my top 6. He's my all-time favorite Spider-Man, and
right.
It's also the reason why I think Spider-Man is a little bit lower, if you will. It's at my number 6, and maybe not at a 4 or a 3. It's just I really haven't been able to relate to or enjoy, the actors that have played Spider-Man. Now, I'm looking forward to the new one, that's going to be coming out.
Right.
But
I'm excited for that just because it relates to the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. So they might have really re-piqued my interest there, but no, you're right, Todd. It was kind of riding this new surge that X-Men started way back when, and so it came at the perfect time, and people wanted it, and they delivered.
Yeah, and like
I will say I didn't like the newer Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. I didn't understand why they were rebooting the series so close to the last one ending. And
just that money, man.
Not that he did a bad job, but it just wasn't as good.
It wasn't the same. I mean, it had a really different feel to it, and I didn't mind those movies. I thought I liked them. I thought Andrew Garfield was really funny as a Spider-Man. Like his Spider-Man was a little more wacky, jokey, kind of like the comic, kind of like the original comic book. So that was cool, but it just didn't hit that. The original Spider-Mans came out, right in like middle school, high school, right in like that youth of like, wow,
Yeah.
when you're just beginning to really like see and understand, good film. And things like that, and and like Travis, like you said, that was, it's kind of lower on the list because I mean, Spider-Man 3 came out 10 years ago, so that's when the series ended. And in that 10 years, so much has happened, in like the superhero world, and all the craziness, and like you said, the just the cinematics and the animation, everything has just been getting bigger and bigger. So it's kind of even made such a, big trilogy like that seem old,
small.
It's almost like it's like old now. It's weird. It's like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
But yeah, I think they're great movies.
So how about your number 4, Travis?
So my number 4, this and another film that we'll talk about later, made this list because I am so excited to see what's to come next. I mean, this is the first of the franchise. I mean, there's already been announced to be more. But my number 4 is Deadpool. I just love seeing the first one and seeing how it's almost like he was an anti-superhero because he didn't really want to be, but at the same time he was, he had a mission that was definitely self-driven, right? He was doing it for himself, but he was, helping people along the way in sort of a roundabout way. But I really liked the crude humor and the way that they tied comedy into it. And, even though he seemed kind of crazy, the Deadpool himself, it was played by Ryan Reynolds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I get him and Ryan Gosling confused for some reason. But
I do too. Don't worry about it.
Ryan Reynolds just... I don't know if they could have cast a better actor to play this. I just thought that he...
Well, he did mess up on Green Lantern.
Well, yeah.
I don't know that was his fault.
We won't talk about Green Lantern, but... he just did an awesome job with it. He made it his own, and, they broke a lot of... Like the third wall stuff. I know Todd and I used to be into... Or not used to. We like to think about films and, from like a director's perspective, but, having him talk directly to the camera and just break that third wall where you're talking to the audience, they did a really good job with moments like that.
Well, I mean,
so it's just...
That is what Deadpool is. Like, if you read the comics and, play, do his video games or anything, that's what he does. That's just what what it is. So that's so different than anything else. That just stands out and makes him so unique.
Yeah.
So unique.
Yeah. So no, I'm super looking forward to the next one in the franchise. I know they've already announced that will be coming.
Have you seen like the little teaser trailer thing?
Yes, I have.
funny.
Where he's in the alley, he's trying to help that guy.
That's super funny.
I haven't seen that. I'm gonna have to go watch it.
It's just like a little clip. It's not even like a trailer. It's just like a little hype clip, and it's just funny and Deadpool, and just like you said, Travis, Ryan Reynolds. It's like it is him. It is the
him.
perfect fit. I think whenever I think Ryan Reynolds, I also think of like Van Wilder. One of his older movies where he was just that goof off, funny slacker thing, and that's just what Deadpool is. So
yeah, I like Deadpool too. This one didn't make my list, but it did make my short list.
Definitely,
this was one that it would have been on my top 10 if we had gone that far.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like when more of these movies come out, it'll probably definitely bump up something else if they keep that same level as the first one.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And it was just one last thought on this. I was also impressed with just the insanity of the stuff that would happen. I mean, I'm thinking of the motorcycle chase scene where the guy is on the expressway and they have that shoot off and that shootout and the standoff there.
Every part of
it's just ridiculous.
Every part of like the action is cool and funny at the same moment.
Yeah.
So it's just like hits all the plays all the notes at the same time. It's just beautiful.
I mean, it was in the trailer, but I still love the part where he's like, "Why do I wear red?" Well, this guy gets it. He wore the brown pants.
Perfect. Oh, it's so funny. It's so good. But definitely not a family film. This is not your normal, take your kids to the superhero movie. And no, this is adults only.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which is probably why it's not on my list. But when the kids are older, I'm going to be super excited to watch this with them.
In like 16 years,
yeah,
you'll be good to go.
14 years away from one, 15 years away from one, and then the girl never has to watch it.
The girl never has.
All right, so we'll move on to number 3. I think I'll start this one.
Cool.
So my number 3 is a newer movie. I actually just saw this earlier this week, but I really enjoyed it, and that is Doctor Strange.
Wow, that's crazy.
This wasn't a superhero I knew a ton about going into the movie, but I like most things that involve magic or something like that. So
I just think you liked it. I just think you like it because he's a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. he was kind of an arrogant doctor, but
Yeah.
I thought that made it better. Like, the Sorceress Supreme knocked him down a few pegs, and I thought it was a good development. I don't know that his origin story was the best, but I thought that the action was good. Adrian said she didn't like it because it wasn't funny. I thought there was humor in it, though, so I don't know. Maybe it's just a difference in perspective between her and I, but
Right.
I really enjoyed the movie, and I might have put it higher on my list if I had had more time to digest it and see how it ranks more with other things, but as it is, I knew it was something that I had to put on the list. It's just, It was hard to put where.
Okay.
So.
That's crazy. I didn't think this would be so high so fast on your list. I've seen it. I liked it. Like you said, for being an origin story, to me it seemed to be a little slow with the action for Doctor Strange himself. I mean, there's action around him, which is pretty good, but this definitely got me excited to see more of this character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Avengers universe and everything. So that got me really pumped up, because I do so far really like the character. The actor Benedict Cumberbatch is really good. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, actor now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, he's just a very good actor. So I'm excited to have him in there. The humor was okay. I think there was some. I think I kind of agree with Adrian there. But definitely a good movie. Really different character than what we've seen so far. So I like it.
Yeah, I think it's partially just what you said. I saw it, and it's made me excited for more to come.
More to come.
The teaser trailer at the end was...
Oh, the Easter egg at the end is super cool.
Yeah.
That got me super pumped.
That was funny.
Yes, no, that was funny. No, that was really funny. So, yeah, no, that definitely got me super excited.
Yeah.
And I haven't even... I mean, I remember seeing the previews for this, but I haven't seen this movie yet,
right.
So... it's one that I want to see, but it wasn't, from a trailer perspective, it wasn't one that got me super excited, like, man, I gotta rush out and see this. It's probably something that I'll pick up and see when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray and everything.
It is.
Oh, it is out. Well, see, there you go. Definitely not one that's piqued my interest.
Yeah, because that's what I did. I waited for it to come out on DVD to watch it. I didn't see it in theaters, so.
Gotcha.
But it was worth it.
Okay.
My number 3... within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, definitely my favorite character above all is Captain America. So my number 3 franchise is the Captain America movie franchise. When I first getting into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I've said this maybe in the past, I really started liking Iron Man. He was coming in, he was my favorite, I really liked them, but the first Captain America film I liked, but I wasn't really into. But then the first Avengers came out, and I liked the character more. And then the second Captain America movie came out, The Winter Soldier, and he just hit the ground running, and that's when he surpassed anyone else. And then, of course, the last film that came out last year, Captain America: Civil War, easily one of my favorite, if not my favorite, superhero movie of all time. And, I know that movie had a lot of other characters in it, and that's why I really liked it, but still Captain America was one of the main characters, really focused on him and his relationship with Winter Soldier, and I like him a lot. So in these movies, just the action, just the fighting, just the way they do it and everything is just super cool. I love him as a character. He's like this, American hero, but he's not perfect by any means. So it's just he's in all the superheroes, he's like the one closest to a normal person. We've said in the past where he's just like a normal person, just like amped up, ish. He's like it's just really.
I would argue otherwise.
Well, I mean, it's not like Iron Man who has a super mega suit or the Hulk who's a monster. He's just a dude who's just jacked. And throws a disc around and beats people
really
up.
Good at frisbee.
He's like an ultimate frisbee champion, and just bang, 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 bounce off this and this, and he's just like perfect. He's perfect. There it is. He's perfect. Okay.
So, I actually like this movie too, but it made my short list, but it I don't know. I didn't like the first one.
No.
As much as a lot of these other movies.
Me too, and
I didn't like the Civil War as much, which I've expressed in previous episodes.
You did or didn't?
Did not. The second movie alone may have put Captain America on this list for me, but for me it was a near miss. But for all the reasons you've already said, this is definitely a great trilogy, and I can completely understand why it made your list, Todd.
For me, the Captain American franchise also made my number 3. And, my reasons are a little bit different. I did enjoy the first one. I liked to see how he came about. Kind of lost interest up until the most recent Civil War. And, luckily, I probably wouldn't even have seen that, which is a disservice to a lot of the superheroes that I like, but I remember you and David both encouraged me to go out and see that. Mm-hmm. So, I know we've discussed it in the past together as a friend group, and so I'm really happy that you guys encouraged me to see Civil War, and after hearing you talk about Winter Soldier, it makes me want to go back and see that from just a purely superhero action-packed point of view. But, I do respect the fact he seems like a humble guy. He doesn't have the flamboyant nature that Robert Downey Jr. is known, as far as Tony Stark and things like that. So, yeah, I could see how he's like the everyman superhero, and people can relate to him in that way, and that's why he made my number 3.
All right, I think we will move on to our number 2s then. Todd, you want to kick us off on this one?
Sure. So, my number 2, I've been talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I guess, which what that means is basically all the different superheroes that make up the Avengers. So, those movies, the Avengers and then Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, so specifically the Avengers franchise is my number 2. As I just said, I like Marvel, Civil War so much because of all the different characters, and that's why I love the Avengers, because it's just the combination of all these different main characters and all their past films and all this build-up and everything just led up to these films, and the hype was huge, and they met it and surpassed the hype. These movies, I remember when the first Avengers came out, I went to the theaters. I probably saw that movie 3 times. That's probably the only movie I've ever seen 3 times in the theaters. And I loved it every time, and then I bought it. And I could watch an Avengers film every day, back and forth. And then, the Hulk, which was just so cool in the movies. He was just badass, and the banter between all the characters is great and funny. And then Avengers 2 came out, and to me, it was better than the first. I know some people like the first one better. People go back and forth. But to me, the second one is my favorite. I think Ultron as a villain was super cool. A villain that can basically take over the internet and all technology, and like what that would do to the world and everything is just like crazy. And makes him like a very powerful villain to be able to take on, multiple superheroes. So, and he was a funny character, really cool looking, had good powers, and you know, the bringing when Avengers 2 brought in a bunch of new characters to the movies and everything. You know, the first superhero died in that. You know, so it was just, to me, it was a little more dramatic film, but still had the action and the comedy of the others. So, yeah, definitely my second favorite franchise of all time, and it'll probably, after the next movies come out, you know, the end and everything, it'll probably be number one.
Okay, you know, I definitely, to steal a phrase David's been using, it definitely made my short list, but it wasn't in the top 6.
Okay.
The Avengers franchise, I really love most of the superheroes that they put in there, but the problem I find with these movies is that you get a lot of big name superheroes in there,
Right.
and a lot of them do so well in movies because you have a lot of screen time with them, right? You're following that main character, you're getting that development, you're getting that, you know, action. You know every scene's going to involve your favorite superhero because it's about Iron Man or it's about Captain America. In this one, you know, they always, and I applaud the directors and things for making the choices they did, but it would be really hard to figure out, well, how much screen time does this character get and things like that. So for me, I just felt like there's so many great characters in it, and they tease you with some of them at times, and it left me wanting more in that sense. I could have watched 5 hours of it.
Right, I know.
And probably still not felt, you know,
No,
satisfied.
I definitely agree there.
It's definitely, I think, from a superhero development and timeline and following their story and seeing their struggles, you know, that's kind of what kept it out of it for me, because it was just so many characters that I'm trying to keep up with and things like that.
So for me, and continuing with our theme of matching up on the even numbers, this is also my number 2.
Okay.
I think this is so high on my list partially because it's different than any other superhero movie. There's not necessarily that origin story of how they got their powers. It's more of an origin story of how they came together and how they interact with one another. And that's not something you really get in other superhero movies. You don't get to see how they... Well, I mean, you do get some development with other characters, but it's usually the love interest, which is completely different.
Right.
Seeing that clash between Iron Man and Captain America was just something that was different and entertaining in this series, and I really appreciated that. But on top of that, this movie was hilarious. I mean, I don't know if you felt that way when you were watching them, but I'm talking about the first one specifically.
Yeah, super
but
funny.
The second one was funny as well, but the one scene that comes to mind is when Hulk grabs Loki and just smashes him back and forth and calls him a puny god or whatever.
No, super funny.
I just was cracking up in the middle of a theater, and that's not something that I do often. So,
Shut up, Dave.
yeah. But, like Todd said, I think the villains in this were well developed, and they did a good job of coming up with some force that requires an entire team of superheroes to be able to defeat it. And I just really appreciated that in these films, so I liked them a lot. That's why they're my number 2.
Yeah, like you said, it is because of this movie and these movies that I have come to almost expect a certain level of comedy and action, because they did it so well and I enjoyed it so much that if movies come out and it's just like almost too much serious, I'm not gonna like it as much, you know, if it doesn't have those comedy bits in it as well. So
I completely agree.
that's one of the things why I like Deadpool, because it was just like funny and action, and I've just become to love that combination.
How about your number 2, Travis?
So continuing with funny action, my number 2 involves a character from Civil War, and in my opinion, the best character from Civil War. It is the Iron Man franchise. No, I absolutely, and you guys have heard me talk about this in the past, I think that Tony Stark is just, he comes from money, so he's got the money to invest in the technology and, make these awesome suits, and, deep down he really does want to help. He discovered that after, obviously, the first movie, that was kind of his calling. But I don't know, I just find that the superheroes, the villains that they have are definitely interesting, and the way that they interact with those. I really like the, I think it was the third one where he battled the guy with the whips, if I'm not mistaken. Second one, the guy with the whips. That was my all-time favorite one so far. But I don't know, I just think that, having Robert Downey Jr. play him and the way that they've written the comedy into it, there's never going to be an Iron Man movie that I'm not going to want to see.
I figured that was going to be on your list and high on your list. For me, I definitely, like I said, when I first got into liking these movies and everything, Iron Man was my favorite character. And really because Robert Downey Jr. is like the perfect Tony Stark. Just like we were saying earlier, Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark.
Agree.
Like, he doesn't even have to act. He just has to show up. But almost the exact opposite of what you said, Travis. These movies they would be in my top 10, but they're not in my top 6, is because I believe in these movies, the villains have been the worst of any of the Marvel movies. In the first one, the main villain was in it for probably 10 minutes at the end. The big other suit. So that was basically nothing. The second one, the whip guy, was cool, but I believe had like the worst actor.
Huh.
So played it. Like, I did not like that guy. fake Russian accent, just weird and just bad. Oh, I did not like Mickey Rourke as that guy. And in the third one, kind of with there's a bad guy, but he's like an actor in the film, and it's just weird. It was just so that just each villain to me was more underwhelming than the last. And the only good character was really.
And Don Cheadle. He did a good job.
That's the only.
He wasn't in the first movie, was he?
No, not the first one.
No, he wasn't even in the first one. It was a different actor.
Yeah, but I think that. Well,
so that was
okay.
a weird switch.
I actually agree with Todd.
So it was just
for those reasons, and kind of the same reasons I talked about with Captain America. This one didn't make my list. It would have made my short list. It did make my short list again, but I wasn't very impressed with the villains. I actually thought the first movie was the best one. I thought he had a very good origin story, really cool. And I really liked that about Iron Man. But like Todd said, as they went on, I just kind of I didn't relate to the series as much, so it kind of fizzled for me.
Well, going into it, Iron Man was not a super mainstream superhero name. It wasn't like a Batman, Superman for DC, and a Spider-Man where everyone knew it, and there was a bunch of cartoons people watched as kids. There's been generations of Spider-Man cartoons where there really wasn't anything for Iron Man until this came. And but I will hand it to him. It has become the biggest, if him and Captain America are the top two superheroes going, rivaling Batman.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. Just because of what's happened in the last 10 years. So, I will give it credit there.
Yeah.
And he's a great character. I love the character and everything, But just those films and that franchise itself.
Well, Tony, if you're out there listening, despite what these two clowns are saying, you're number one in my heart. So, actually, number 2. Sorry, number 2 in my heart.
Number 2. Sorry.
On that note,
with that, we'll move on to number 1.
Let's move on to number 1.
You want to kick us off, Travis?
I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of. There might be a lot of agreement on our number 1s.
I have a feeling before anyone says anything, I think this might be the first time we triple crossover.
I know you're wrong.
But maybe
Dave
not.
knows you're wrong, but we'll double crossover.
I
Todd. We'll double crossover. Yeah, go ahead. Surprise us.
All right, well, David, you go first then.
So, my number 1
us.
is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Shucks, that's right.
So, kind of for the same reasons I said on Avengers, and Todd said it too, it's kind of become an expectation that superhero movies mix that aspects of comedy and action into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Guardians of the Galaxy is the perfect example of that, because this movie is hilarious, and it's a superhero movie, kind of, but, and I guess Deadpool would fall into that category too, but, I don't know, I just love Chris Pratt. I think he did an amazing job as Star-Lord. The whole team is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super excited for the second one to come out. So, for all those reasons and more that I'm probably not thinking of, Guardians of the Galaxy is my number 1.
Now, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Me too.
It was
Me
my
too.
number 5, which
Yeah.
I guess if I would have. Oh really? Okay, cool. I guess if I would have remembered that someone put it higher on our list, we haven't said it yet. Said all that crap, but anywho, and this is the only franchise to me that's only had one film that's on my list, and that just goes to show, for me at least, how strong it started as, and I believe is going to continue to be, because, like you said, Dave, super comedy. Chris Pratt is a great comedic actor, and now he's shown to be a great action actor as well. So he's super fun and cool, and just everybody. Dave Bautista, who plays Drax. I've liked him for a long time. I in high school I was a big, and still am, a wrestling fan, and he was my first favorite wrestler. Like when I got into it, I watched it and I stayed into it really because of him, because he was such a badass. he was just so cool. So it's cool to see him have like some huge mainstream success, and with the rest of the movie, every single character is unique and just played well. Each actor and actress plays them perfectly. The main characters, the secondary characters, are just so cool. I can't remember Michael Rooker's character, the blue guy. What's his name? Is it Andu?
Yeah,
Zandu?
I don't remember his name. But
I can't think of his name.
This is Dave's number 1. I can't.
It's like Can't
help you.
It's like, I know, but he was such a cool character, and he's like just he's in there a little bit.
Yeah,
he has like one really cool scene, and it's just like super cool. You want to see more of him.
And to piggyback off of that, Todd, I think too that we talked about how CGI and like graphics have come a long way. A few of the characters in this bunch are not even really there, right?
Groot and
Rocket are just like little squirrel in a tree that aren't. I mean, so not only is it a testament to the actors, raccoons, whatever.
Yeah, raccoon. Okay. Squirrel. I won't punch him.
His cousin's a squirrel. I'm sorry.
Squirrel.
He carries bombs. Okay.
Yeah, but it's just this is one of the first films where I think that they are able to make characters that are both on screen and off work so well together and make it look so natural and fluid. And it was number 5 for me too. And like we talked about in the newest Star Wars film, I love ragtag bunches that just come together and kick butt. So, and it's funny, and I just echo everything that you guys have both been saying.
I mean, ragtag. Technically, they're all bad guys.
Yeah.
They're criminals, but they come together to make this super duper hero team.
Right.
So it's just cool. And I was thinking, I'm like, what do you mean some of the characters aren't real? I'm like, oh yeah, there's a giant tree person and a raccoon. I didn't even think of it because it's like it looks so real, and you buy into it,
Yeah.
And this being this not only is like a superhero film, this is like a traditional sci-fi film, space, battle, Star Trek, Star Wars, type of
Sort
thing.
of.
So it's, not sort of. What do you mean sort of? It's a space sci-fi film. Everything takes place in space.
It is, but I wouldn't compare it to Star Trek or Star Wars.
Well, I'm comparing it.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is it also just appeals to that crowd.
Yeah.
That's
and
fair.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
All right. So, just to kind of clarify, that was a 3-way crossover.
It was.
It just wasn't a
Right.
3-way matchup. And I believe your next one is also going to be a 3-way crossover. So, why don't you guys take away my number 5?
Okay, Todd, you want to say it on 3?
Sure.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
The Dark
Knight
trilogy.
There it is, the trilogy. Yeah,
The
for
trilogy.
sure. Go ahead, start us off.
Okay, so it's crazy to me because I remember when Batman Begins came out, I so did not like that movie.
Me either.
I was like, for one, I had never seen Christian Bale in anything. So I'm like, who's this guy? I'm like, so I think it came out in 2004. Yeah. So I was like, who's this guy? I'm like, I don't even know this guy. I'm like, whatever. And the villains were almost non-existent. Like Scarecrow to me was such a weak villain. Ra's al Ghul, I didn't even know who that was because I wasn't, I didn't really follow.
Arrow wasn't a thing then.
Yeah, I didn't follow any of the comics or anything like that. And I don't think I ever saw him in a cartoon or anything.
Yeah.
As a kid, and I really didn't watch Batman. Batman wasn't my
Your jam.
my superhero. I was a Superman guy back in the day. So I didn't really like it, but Batman himself was cool, and the Batmobile was super cool. So there was some really cool things to it. Now then, The Dark Knight came out, and everything changed. Oh my gosh, the hype for that movie, the critical acclaim for that movie, obviously Heath Ledger's performance in that movie, and then he passed away soon after, created a bunch of buzz and everything, and it came and it kicked it. It just was awesome. It was one of it is The Dark Knight, the second one, is my favorite superhero movie of all time.
Yeah.
The Joker is my favorite villain of all time. And the way Heath Ledger plays it is absolutely perfect. He's just a maniac.
Not to mention Two-Face was in there.
And there's Two-Face. And he was good.
He was great.
He a good character that turns into a bad character is just so... I feel like that would be me. If anything happened to the people I love, I would become a villain. I would just...
That's good to know.
Yeah, so,
All those diabolical plots that are in your mind.
Yeah, the quotes in that movie, the lines, still today, why he's so serious, it's just, it's become iconic.
It has.
And where's Rachel?
Yeah, and it's a bad signal, classic.
Yeah, those boys.
That famous line, it's a bad signal. And, so I'll kind of... For me, I've always liked Batman. That was my go-to superhero movie before X-Men. Back when Arnold Schwarzenegger was Mr. Freeze and, Poison Ivy and whatnot. And Danny DeVito was Penguin. It was just... Those were my favorite superhero movies. Didn't have the same production value, obviously, but I just thought it was awesome. Batman, and he reminds me a lot of, and maybe this is why it's so high on my list as well. I kind of like the fact that he is similar to Tony Stark in the fact that he doesn't have powers necessarily. He just has money. I mean, that helps, obviously.
Helps.
But he's not like he's not a jerk about. I mean, Tony Stark can be a jerk. He can be in your face and like flaunt it, whereas Batman's this quieter guy, really inquisitive.
I like how you call them Tony Stark and Batman.
You know what I mean? Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne. Yeah, Tony Stark and Batman are not. They're different characters, but they're similar in a lot of ways. In the fact that they both just want to, I don't know, reduce crime and take out the bad guy. So it's amazing too that. Well, I guess both Iron Man and, Batman have kind of both fought in the same areas, right? They haven't spanned the world. Batman definitely fights in Gotham.
Right.
So the fact that they can... Iron Man kind of... He went across,
He's an Avenger.
Yeah, he can...
They fight.
That's true. They fight all over the place.
But, like, the difference, like we've said, Tony Stark is Iron Man,
Yeah.
He's, the world obviously knows who he even is, so it's not even like a secret identity. Where Bruce Wayne and Batman...
It's not a thing that's well known, yeah.
No, it's a secret identity, and even so, like, especially in these films, it really showed where Bruce Wayne in public was like the character. That's when he had to act and pretend to be something else. Where Batman is like really who he is. He that's how he truly feels. He wants to stop. He's a crime fighter. He wants to stop he wants to help people, save people.
Yeah.
And how he has to do it is as Batman.
Yeah.
So that's who he really is.
So I don't know.
Which is really cool.
I didn't know anything about Christian Bale either, but I thought he did an awesome job.
But now he's like, Christian Bale, if he's in something, I'm going to be interested because...
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, there's Batman.
It's Batman.
And so what do you think about the third movie, Dark Knight Rises?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dave,
what do you think? Yeah, Dave, what are you thinking about all this?
Yeah, I mean, this was my number 5. I don't have a lot to add. You guys have already said a lot of how I feel about the movie. I mean, Travis mentioned the old Batman movies, and I know we've talked. You don't necessarily feel the same way, but those are actually movies that made my short list too. They would have been in my top 10 if we still had them, but
who was your favorite Batman of the old Batmans? Or at least favorite film of the old Batmans?
Which was the one with Mr. Freeze? Was that Batman Forever?
I think so.
I think that was Batman and Robin.
Okay, yeah, that sounds accurate. That was my favorite. I don't remember who the actor was in that one.
I can picture him. He
was that Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
No, he was the first one. I think that was wasn't that Clooney?
Michael Keaton was with Mr. Freeze.
Was he?
I thought so.
I thought it was Clooney.
Well, I like Keaton, but my favorite is.
I thought Keaton was the one with the Penguin.
I know that one for sure.
And that was the only one he was in.
He was only in the one.
He was only in the Batman.
Yeah, it was just the original Batman.
Was it Kilmer? Val Kilmer?
No,
There's
he was in Batman Forever.
Yeah, I think Clooney was in the last one with Robin.
Yeah, that's definitely Clooney.
They were being seduced by Poison Ivy.
Oh, is that the one with Jim Carrey as Riddler?
No, that was Batman Forever.
I like that one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one too. And that was, we just said it.
Val?
Yeah, Val Kilmer.
Yeah, that was Val Kilmer. Keaton did the first two, then Kilmer, and then Clooney.
Yeah.
So many Batmans. So many Batmans.
There was.
It's crazy, going back to earlier, Hugh Jackman has played Wolverine for like 2 decades almost.
Yeah.
And we've had like a half a dozen Batmans.
I know.
That's crazy.
It's more than half a dozen now, isn't it?
If you count like old Adam West.
So Adam West, Kilmer, Clooney, Christian Bale, Keaton,
Affleck.
Yeah. So that is half a dozen.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
Anyway, so that pretty much wraps up our list. There were maybe just a couple that I wanted to give some shout-outs to.
Okay.
Ant-Man was another good one that made my short list.
That was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I had no expectations of Ant-Man, so I was actually very surprised by that one. Do you guys got any?
I really had thought hard about Kick-Ass, too. Not the second one, but as well. Kick-Ass as well.
I remember, I know I watched the first one, Kick-Ass, and I liked it.
Yeah.
But I never saw the second one.
The first one was better, but yeah, that was something I considered as well. I don't think it quite made my short list, but it was something I thought about.
Did you guys ever see the movie Mystery Men?
Yes.
That movie came to mind. I don't know if it would have.
I don't remember that one.
I didn't even think about that one, but that would have made. Yes.
It was a pure comedy-ish, but about superheroes. But they were like the weirdest superheroes known to man. Like one of them was called the Shoveler, where you just hit people with a shovel.
Never. Mystery Men? Is it a newer movie?
No. This is 2000s.
Was the one called the Bowler?
There was the Bowler. She had like a magical.
She had a skull inside of a bowling ball.
Her father's head was inside this bowling ball, and they made it like fly around and hit things. And then there was the Blue Raja. Was
he the one that turned invisible?
No. He was the guy, instead of like being like a knife expert cutting people.
Oh yeah, forks.
He was a master of forks. He would just throw forks at things and would just stick into people.
I gotta watch this with you guys.
I own it. I'll let you.
Okay.
And the one guy could turn invisible, but he couldn't do it when anyone was watching.
He's like, I can turn invisible. They're like, all right, go ahead, but no one can be looking. They're like, okay. And it was super funny. It was just like a funny play on. It's just so weird.
Wait, any big name actors?
Ben Stiller. Oh, huge.
Oh, really?
Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, Jeffrey Rush was the bad guy.
I'll have to watch it.
It was like a Ben Stiller comedy movie.
Huh.
It was so weird. So weird. The guy who Pee Wee Herman was in it. He was he was a farter. He could fart.
Yeah.
Such a weird movie. But funny. Yeah, so that came into mind. And then, we were talking about our favorites. I wanted to mention my least favorite of all time was Daredevil. I hated that movie.
Let's review that brew.
Alright, so now for our brew review. For those of you who are new to the podcast, here at the D6 Pack, we rank everything on a 6-pack scale. So, we're going to talk about the beer first, but once we get to the rating, if this is your favorite beer of all time, that's going to be a 6. And if this is something you want to just dump down the drain, then it's a 1. So let's go get our thoughts first, and we'll start with you, Travis.
With me, okay. If you've been tuning in these past few episodes, you know that I am not a beer connoisseur by any way. Definitely prefer my ciders, but when we first cracked into it, I kind of had high hopes because I do enjoy Guinness, which is a darker beer. But this one caught my eye at the store, and it was one of the reasons I suggested it to Todd and David, because, it says an ale brewed with coconut. So, I know I enjoy coconut things in coffees and things like that. I don't mind it. I think it's good, like a toasted coconut taste. But in an ale, it definitely has turned out for me to be a really weird experience. When I first cracked it, I love the aroma. I thought that the coconut aroma that came off was awesome. It made me really excited. I poured it. It brought back, like I said, images of a fresh poured Guinness. But at the same time, when I take a drink of it, it's got this initial bite that it's hard to explain. It's definitely got a roasted coconut taste, but then it goes immediately bitter for me, and I can't get past that. I mean, I've maybe, Dave can attest to what I'm saying, but I've maybe sipped a fourth of the glass since I've been sitting here. It's definitely
barely drank any of it.
It's not been one of my favorites. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I had 2 of these, and I drank all 2 of them. I'm finishing up the last one now. I'm definitely right away with the flavors. Bold, strong flavors. Definitely that roasted feel. Almost like kind of getting that, almost like a burnt taste.
Yeah.
A little bit. With the bitterness, very earthy bitterness coming at the end. Porters are kind of, for me, definitely in like the middle. For me, not necessarily the first thing I'm going to grab, but I can deal with it. I know what to expect with a porter. With this bottle, there's a coconut, right on the label, so I was expecting a strong coconut taste, which was going to worry me because I'm not a fan of coconut at all, and definitely it's not strong enough for me to notice it really and be turned off by it. So that was good. It's good. Very, like I said, heavy. So I'm not going to slam back a 6-pack of these. I've had 2. That's probably where I would stop with these. So
I'll jump in there because I kind of disagree with you there. For a porter, I think this is actually pretty light. I'm a porters are one of my more, I don't want to say they're my favorite beer, but they're closer to it. So for me, this is not as heavy as a lot of the porters that I've tried. I do agree with you though that the coconut taste is there, but it's not overwhelmingly.
No.
Like it's not overwhelming by any means. So, it's good. I think it's got a good flavor to it. You can taste the coconut. It's not a heavy porter, so I think I could drink, maybe not a full 6-pack, but I could have 4 of these at least, probably. I mean, I've finished 2 right now, and I could probably do another one at least. But, yeah, Travis said it's got a good smell to it. I like the taste. I don't think it's that heavy. I guess we have differing opinions there, but I guess to our listeners, try it out for yourself and see what you think. Let us know. Send us an email. Contact us on our socials. Let us know what you think about Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah.
And one last thought for me before we move into the actual numerical rating. Before the podcast, I hadn't been a huge beer drinker, but I'm learning that as long as you start with and you figure out what the base is that you like, IPA, porter, stout, and that going in, you could start adding flavors in and things that, you also like, and you're probably going to be okay. So, it's been really eye-opening for me to just see where my taste buds initially fit and how I can add different things to that. So it's been
exactly
good.
Once you find like that type you like,
yeah,
you can kind of mold and work from there.
Yeah.
All right, so have you come up with your number rating, Travis?
I have come up with my number rating. I'm actually going to give it a 2 out of 6. I'm not going to rush to pour it down the drain, but I'm not going to rush to open a second bottle either. This could be...
You're not going to rush to finish the first bottle.
I'm not going to rush to finish the first one either. As long as I can keep it cold.
It's not cold anymore.
Not anymore. It's definitely weirder now. But if I could keep it cold somehow, I think that I would be able to sip on it a little bit longer.
Do you kind of know what you didn't like about it?
This bitterness. It just makes my face puckers for whatever reason. I don't.
No, I got you.
It's more of a cringe than a pucker, really.
Yeah, it's a cringe and a body convulsion. That part I don't like. I'll throw that out there.
Okay.
Whatever's doing that, I don't need it. So.
What about you, Todd?
Okay, so just like I said, porters are kind of right in that middle for me. So for something to kind of, a porter to kind of break out of that, it's going to have to be something really different, something really good. To me, this was kind of just like a normal, nothing really stood out to me with this. So for me, I'm just going to go one step up from Travis. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 6. Like I said, with Travis, the bitterness is something I don't quite super enjoy in my beers, but I've definitely had more bitter beers than this, so it's something I was able to deal with it with this one. But this is probably if you like porters, I would recommend it. If you don't, then yeah, I would say stay away from it.
That's fair. So the Puerto Rico is making me forget what we've done with ratings in the past, but I think this may be our widest split, because I quite disagree with you guys. I think this is a very good beer, and I would definitely drink it again. I'm gonna reserve that 6 because I don't think it's the best beer it could be, but I am going to give it a 5 because I think as porters go, this is a very good beer. And I think the flavor's good. I like it. I would parrot what Todd said and say that if you don't like porters, this maybe isn't your thing, but if you are even slightly inclined towards porters, I'd say give it a try.
Now, where are you with the bitterness, Dave? Are you how do you do with bitterness? Do you not mind it as much, or is it something you enjoy, or?
I don't know. I think my taste buds are going as I get older.
Okay, so you don't necessarily get a bitterness from this?
I do a little bit, but I don't know. I think there's just you sort of start to get used to those sorts of things the more you drink those sorts of flavors.
And you definitely drink more than any of us.
Yeah.
But I mean, just necessarily with the widest range, you know.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of a little all over the place with this one.
Definitely. So, I think that's our show. So, until next time, play hard and drink responsibly.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of D6 Pack. We'd love for you to share your favorite superhero movies with us at D6 Pack Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We hope you'll tune in next month for our thoughts on Atwater Brewery's Traverse City Cherry Wheat, discuss our top 6 gateway games, and a ton more nerdy entertainment. As always, D6 Pack is not affiliated with any products discussed during this podcast, and all opinions are those of the creators.